Well, hello, welcome again to reading of Odyssey Book 4, and I got up to line 742. So at this point, having recovered from her shock, Penelope tells one of the servants to go and get Dolios, to go and then report everything to the grandfather Laertes, and to warn him to see if he's got any ideas as to how they can stop the suitors from murdering Telemachos. So we continue on. Tandauti prosie per phile trophos Eurykleia. Now Eurykleia, of course, is the nurse, and she's an older woman. She's the nurse, she had been the nurse of Odysseus, and she of course plays a major role much later in the Odyssey. Trophos can be either masculine or feminine. It's connected with Trepho, of course, to rear, so it's a nurse. So the dear nurse Eurykleia then addressed her, spoke to her, that is Penelope. Nympha philae, well, nympha, funny word here, dear nymph, but we'd probably say just my dear, dear girl. Remember, Eurykleia is an older woman. Sue men, so she now confesses the fact that she was the one who knew about everything, because Penelope's accused all of the other women from knowing and not telling her, and now Eurykleia confesses that she was the one who knew. So she says, we've got a men and a det, but it's not really on the one hand, on the other here. So you then literally kill me with the cruel bronze, with a cruel sword, or leave me be in the hall. But I will not hide the word from you, from Epicutho. So there's the men and the dare. So I suppose it is on the one hand, kill me with the cruel bronze or leave me in the hall, but I will not hide the story from you, or for you. I will not hide the truth, the story for you. Now the de here is from oida, for I knew all of these things, and for the de, often you can't really always translate de by but. So perhaps you could say, but I was the one who provided. This is poron. It's an aorist form. It's got no present form, but it does occur commonly. There is a perfect form as well, but this is just the aorist. So I provided for him, hossa, double sigma for meter, as many things as he bid, food and sweet drink. Siton kai methu hedu. Emu delata megan hokan. This is from hyreo in the middle. Normally means to choose, but here it's he took, I think. He took a great oath from me. Mu for u. Not, now we get the prin and prin, as usual you don't translate the first prin, not to tell you before dodecatane, we've got to supply ham around here, until the 12th day occurred. So not to tell you for the first 12 or first 11 days and before the 12th day occurred, or before are still understood. Set out on, be one word in later Greek. You yourself, pothesai is in infinitive, to desire him, and akusai, and you to hear of him setting out. This is a genitive participle here from af or mao. So either before you, the 12th day occurred, or before you yourself desired him and heard that he had set out. Hosan me claus katakra kalon iaptes. The aptase is subjunctive from the apto, to hurt or spoil. So it was so that, or perhaps lest, with the hos may, lest by weeping you might spoil or harm. Now the kata goes with the apte. You might harm your beautiful skin. So we get a preverb here. You might harm. In other words, if she was crying, she would not be as attractive. So lest you might perhaps spoil your beautiful complexion. But hudrenamene from hudrino, having taken a bath, having washed yourself, helusa, again from Hyrio, having we would say having put, literally having taken clean clothes for your skin, so having put on some clean clothes. Anabasa, going up into the eroi, there must be an alpha elided here. I think it's normally, this would be plural, I think it's normally hoop eroi on, could be wrong there, in which case it would be an alpha be elided and it's a plural for singular. So having gone up into the upper room, or rooms if you will, with your servant women, there'll be an omicron elided here. Pray to Athena, the daughter of aegis-bearing Zeus. So pray to her. Hagar kenmin epeta kai ekthanatos, and she. Now the ket goes with the sa-osai, and I think this is an optative of wish. And she might save him hereafter, even from death. So may she save him hereafter, even from death. Now the kaku is an imperative. There's a verb kakoo, to trouble. This is kakoe, and you get a contraction here as you would in later Greek. So nor trouble the old man, and then we get the same verb, kakakomenon, as a perfect passive participle, having been troubled. So it's almost, do not trouble the old man who's got enough troubles of his own. Uga oio pankuthios makra esin grenane akesi adao ekestai, that would be, it's an infinitive. For I do not think, and then we've got the infinitive coming down here, for I do not think the gonane, well, something like the seed or the offspring, the descendants of Arcesios. Now Arcesios is Laertes' father, so there's Arcesios, Laertes, Odysseus, and then Telemachos, and so this is the gonane. So I do not think that the descendants of Arcesios to be very much hated, this is that the verb ekesthai, to be hated, by the blessed gods. But still perhaps someone, ep esetai is a future from ep ami, so it has the sense of to be left behind, or perhaps almost to exist. For I think there will still be someone who might, subjunctive with ke, who might have, we'd probably say inherit here, who might have or perhaps inherit the domata, the hoop erephia domata. This is the high-roofed houses and the rich farms or fields. Apopro thit. The thit is an old, well, perhaps it's a locative ending here. Apropos, apopro you get separately as well. It means lying at a distance away. So in other words, being far away perhaps from town. Now of course the point being is that Odysseus appears to be the only male descendant of Laertes, and Telemachos is the only male descendant of Odysseus. And so if he is killed and she thinks Odysseus is killed, then Eurykleia is saying, look, there'll be someone there, heaven knows who will inherit all of the possessions, so the high-roofed houses and the rich fields which are far from town. Hos Vato, and thus she spoke. Eunase is from eunao, which is to put to bed. We still use that expression, to put something to bed, get rid of it, to lay it aside. So we would say she laid aside, got on her grief, the grief of her, so the subject of this is Penelope. Skes the ossi got oyo. This is an aorist. It is connected with echo. I need to look this one up. It's a funny epic form from echo. So she held back her two eyes. This is a dual accusative. Got oyo from grief, from lamentation. But she, having washed herself, having taken beautiful clothes for her skin, so having put on, clean clothes, so kathara, having put on fresh almost, having put on her person fresh clothes, having dressed herself in fresh or pure clothes, she went up into the upper room or rooms with her servant women. En dethet ulakutas kaneo erata Athena. Now the N is Temesis with Tithame here, so she placed, these are barley groats, these are little barley groats that were often used to sprinkle. You sprinkled barley groats often on the sacrifice, but there's no mention of that here. There's no mention of burning them or anything, so it's just perhaps she's just going to sprinkle them on the floor as an offering. So she placed the barley groats in the kaneo, in the well, it's cognate, I think, connected with our word canister, but it simply means a basin. It's not the right word I want. Will come to me in a second. And she prayed to Athena. So she placed the barley groats in, in kaneo, in a basin. I think it's about the best I can do here. And she prayed to Athena. Kluthi igeo koyo dios tekos. Standard way of beginning a prayer with Kluthi hear me. Then the person you're praying to, normally some epithet, and then recalling some good deeds that were done, some service that was done to the god or goddess, and then you ask what you want. So it's quite a standard prayer. So Kluthi hear me, daughter of Aegis-bearing Zeus, and one of her epithets is Atratone, which is one of those epithets that the exact meaning is not clear. I'll just probably best just to call it Atratone as an epithet and leave it untranslated. So if ever Odysseus, wily Odysseus, in the halls, now the kata goes with the kae. This is from Kaio, Kappa Alpha Iota. This is the aorist, and this is a preverb with it. So katakaio is to burn. So if ever wily Odysseus burnt the thighs, the rich thighs of, this is genitive, of an ox or of a sheep, toi for you, Mnesai imperative, remember now these things. Now the moi ethic dative. You can say for me, often just translated as please. So it's please remember these things now, and please, another imperative, save my dear son. Ap alalaki. This is a reduplicated second aorist. It's got no present form. It simply means to protect or ward off. Probably ward off is better. Ward off the suitors who are evilly overbearing. So ward off these evilly overbearing suitors. Perhaps I'm just still worried about this kaneo. Perhaps container might be general enough here. So put the barley groats in a container. Having put them into a container, into a basin perhaps, or container might be good. So back to here. Thus speaking, ololuxi. This is to go to scream out ololololoi or something. So thus speaking, she raised a cry, often used as a religious cry. So she ululated, I think is some of the translations use. And the goddess heard her prayer for her. So the hoi for aute. So the goddess heard her prayer. This is from Ara, the prayer. But the suitors, Homadesan, they were making a din, making a noise from Homadio, up and down the shadowy halls. Hodidetis a peske neon huper onton. And this again, one of these stock tropes in Homer, where someone says, he means collectively that various people say various things, so he uses the iterative. So someone among the young arrogant men was wont to say, perhaps for this, Hodi, the following. In other words, this is a sort of thing that they were saying to one another, but it's become singular. So someone among the haughty men was wont to say, Hodi, the following. E mala de gamon army polumines de basileia arture. Artue. So they hear this noise, and one of them says, surely the much wooed Polymeneste, the much wooed queen, is preparing very much, or so take it with the amala. So surely indeed then the much wooed queen is preparing a marriage for us. Udi te oiden hoi phonos hui tetuktai. Nor does she know tit in at all. So, nor has she got any idea. Now, hot for hottie, and that's, well, it occurs quite a bit in Homer, hot for hottie, that murder, has been prepared, literally, for her son. So it's the hoi goes with the hui. In later Greek, huios is a second declension, but in Homer it's generally a third declension. So she's got so they hear this noise and they think she's preparing a wedding, and they say, nor does she know at all that murder has been prepared for her son. Thus then someone would say. And then the lovely line after that, lovely half line, ta du isan hos et tetukto. Now the isan apparently is from ai desan. It's from oida, which is a bit tricky, that one, because it looks like it might come from Amy Ibo, but it's from oida, so for a desan. But they did not know that, or how perhaps. This is a pluperfect passive, literally it had been done. So in other words, they did not know how these things really were. In other words, they thought that Penelope, they didn't realise that Penelope knew about their plans, or possibly, and probably better, they didn't realise that the noise from the upstairs had nothing to do with preparing a wedding. So they did not know we might say what the true situation was, literally how it had been done. But Antinous Agoracetot addressed them in assembly and Metiopen and said, daimonioi. Now this is again this funny word. It's often used when people are doing something that they really shouldn't be doing, that's out of character, that's odd or strange. I think Lattimore translates this as reckless men. You could modernise it a little bit and say, look, you crazy guys. Alias there, from aleamai, to avoid, so this is an imperative, avoid these haughty words. And the pantas homos goes with the muthoi, so avoid, it's all alike, literally, so it's all such haughty, so avoid all such haughty speech. Avoid all such haughty speech might be good for that bit there. The pantas homos, I think, goes with the muthoi. So avoid these words or anything like it is the sense, I think. Lest perhaps someone, this is again, you're getting cascading accents, lest someone might report it also within. But come, arising, having arisen, having stood up, let us complete such, let us bring to an end such speech in silence. In other words, we finish talking and don't say anything about it. Now the let us bring to an end all such speech in silence. Probably hot, but maybe for haughty, because indeed also Ararin from Ararisco, it has been perhaps done, it has been put together, perhaps resolved, for all of us in our mind. Or actually, it might be better to take that as just a relative. Yeah, so that which indeed, so let me do that again, that wasn't very good, but so come, let us bring to an end, hortatory subjunctive, but come, having stood up, let us bring to an end such a word in silence, such speech in silence, such a word which indeed also has been resolved by all of us, taking the pasim with hamin, in our minds, in our hearts. And so that is the advice or the command of Antinous, and that's the next part of book 4.